any questions, sorry, if you have any questions, you can feel free to type them in the chat or raise your hand. And then we also have time for Q&A at the end.
All right, so hi everyone, I'm Jessica, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. So we're going to start off by introducing the panelists. So if you can please state your name, your major, and your year, please. So we'll start off with Amirani.
I think we can skip Amirani for now.
Anthony, please.
Everyone, my name is Anthony. I'm a third-year computer science major. Yeah.
So Esmeralda, please.
Hi, I'm Esmeralda or Esme, and I'm a fifth-year civil engineering major.
And Jane.
Hi, my name is Jane. I'm a third-year animal science major.
And Sarah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sara Garcia, and I am a third-year transfer student majoring in nutrition dietetics.
Thank you. And Winnie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Winnie. I'm a third-year student, and I'm majoring in urban regional planning.
All right. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. So we're going to move on to the first question for our panelists. So consider some of your earliest notions of college. What are some of the reasons you decided to attend college? And were there any specific individuals who helped make your decision? So we'll start off with Anthony.
All right, sure. I didn't think too much about college until I was in high school, when I would go on trips to tour different campuses. And I just remember how spread out they were and how beautiful a lot of the campuses were. It was like day and night compared to where I went to high school. But eventually when it came time for me to decide what I wanted to do after high school, there was definitely a little bit of an expectation from my family to go to college. And it was also kind of just something I assumed that most people would do after high school. But I'd say my parents really encouraged me because they never had the chance to. And I always knew it would mean a lot to them to see me do better than how they did. So, but I would say what really helped me make that final decision was just thinking about different careers that interested me. And for many of them, I realized that I needed to get a degree. And so once I realized that, I knew that college would be the next step for me. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. All right. What about you, Esme?
So much like Anthony, I think it kind of just started with tours in high school. So I was part of AVID all my 4 years of high school. I actually got to tour a lot of the campuses all throughout California. And for some reason, I think Cal Poly was always my number one. It was always like my number one. So I knew I wanted to go to college, and I think like the people that motivated were just my siblings. Like I'm the fifth one of 6 siblings, and the ones before me, they've all gone to college. My parents too, it wasn't expected, but it was kind of almost expected of me to go to college. And I loved school since I was like 7th, 8th grade. I would do science fairs. I got like a private tour of USC when I did a science fair project. And it was always something I looked forward to because I like school. So I just knew I was going to go to school, and I planned to continue going to school because I like school. But if I were to mention another person, I would probably think it's my AVID teacher, Ms. Barella. She's the one that really pushed me, like said, you need to get your ducks in a row before then, if these are the schools you're going to apply for, and if you really want to get in, and make sure you're there comfortably your first year. So Ms. Barella.
Thank you, Esme, for sharing. All right, what about you, Jane?
So my earliest notions of college also came from tours when I was doing high school, because I was part of a program that allowed us to tour around a lot of campuses. So when I hit Cal Poly Pomona, it just felt like home. I really saw myself going there. But before that, college seemed like this faraway dream where it just felt like an obligation. It felt like everyone had to go. That was the next step. And it didn't really hit me until junior, senior year that this was something that was plausible for me. So another reason that I also wanted to attend college that motivated me was because I simply enjoyed education. I really enjoy learning, and I still do to this day. And the thought of being able to create my own schedule and take the classes that I want to take towards a career that I want to pursue, it really hit me in my senior year, and that's what really motivated me. My parents also motivated me to, you know, do better and to do really good, to get a career that I really love. There's also a specific individual at my high school, a specific counselor. She really got my head straight about college. She sat me down and she talked about the specifics, like my major, the location, the finances, and she helped me to like weed out my options just to go over them. And so I never had someone break down the specifics as thoroughly as she did. And that just was really motivating me. And she's one of the reasons why I came to Cal Poly Pomona.
Thank you, Jane. All right, what about Sarah?
Hi, everyone. So I grew up the oldest of 6 siblings and the only daughter. And my father was very strict on me. And again, like everyone else has shared, my parents were expecting me to go to college. So when I graduated high school back in 2008, I applied for Fullerton Community College. And when I got there, I would show up to class and then I wouldn't take notes because I never took notes in high school. And so when it came time for the exam, I would fail. So my first year of college was very difficult. I actually failed all my classes or I withdrew. And I actually quit college and I gave up on it. And I wasn't aware of the support or resources offered by colleges. So it wasn't until I was around 25 years old after having my son that I discovered the power of nutrition and what it can do for your mental health. And when I found something that I was passionate about, I went back to community college. And this time I went to Mount San Antonio College, which is right next to Cal Poly Pomona. And there, it was really difficult still, but I found a lot of resources for first generation college students. And college was still challenging, but it was less difficult because of the support I had. So that was like my first what's it called? Like experience with college.
Thank you for sharing. Very interesting. All right. What about you, Winnie?
Hello, everyone. So I actually didn't grow up in the United States. So I think when I was younger, I actually never thought that I would have gone to college. Coming to the United States when I was 11, I always just knew that I just had to finish school, and maybe after high school, then I would get a job. But then as I learned more in school, I started learning that, oh, you need a college degree in order to be successful in the United States. And I wanted to be successful, and who doesn't want to be successful, you know? So when I got to high school, a lot of my teachers started talking about college and what you need to do to apply. And all of my friends, they all wanted to go to college. Everybody wanted to go to college. So I tried really hard in high school, and I was taking my classes seriously. I studied really hard, but my junior year of high school, it became really hard because I got admitted into the foster care system. So that kind of hit hard on me because I had to switch schools. I switched school, I think it was 3 times. And that kind of ruined my grades, I think, a little because of the impact it had on my mental health. And I ended up switching back to my original school where I went to school with my friends. And I started working, and I find it really hard to juggle school and working at the same time. And the only reason why I wanted to go to work was because I wanted to be like independent. I wanted to be able to pay for college, because I didn't know that there was FAFSA, there was financial support for students like us. And I was actually discouraged from going to the Cal States and the UCs. I actually wanted to go to community college. So there were two people who actually really motivated me to apply to the Cal States, and it was my social worker and my CASA worker. The CASA worker is like she's just a volunteer, and she would come to see me like every week. I remember she would take me to the SATs, helping me apply to different grants and scholarships throughout the Cal States. And she actually told me to apply to the Renaissance Scholars program here at Cal Poly. And I'm really grateful for her. She has really impacted my college experience tremendously. Other things she did for me was she helped me move into my dorm my freshman year. So she did a lot for me. And I feel like if I didn't have them, I feel like I wouldn't be where I am today. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all for expressing with us what it's been for you guys. I can totally relate. So now let's move on to the second question. So think back to your first quarter at Cal Poly Pomona. What stood out to you? And if you faced any obstacle during your first year at Cal Poly Pomona, how did you resolve it? So we'll start off with Anthony.
One thing that stood out to me was just how much more responsibility I had. And I really liked that I was able to just pick what classes I could take and just really choose what I could do with my time. And I felt like there's just a lot more freedom and independence compared to high school. Another thing that stood out was just how big of a university CPP is. I'd say it feels like you're a small fish in a big pond. And I feel like being in that kind of environment really helped me meet different classmates, just many of whom were like parents, others served in the military, and just people that just came back to school because they wanted to switch careers. And so I feel like it made me realize that people go to college at different stages in their lives. And I think it's really cool. In terms of obstacles that I faced, I would say I struggled a little bit in my first semester because I didn't have the best study habits and didn't manage my time as well as I could have. But I feel like what really helped was just getting to know my classmates and really just learning to ask for help from my professors. And I feel like as you go through those obstacles in college, you just learn how to really just set yourself up for success and just be a responsible adult.
Thank you, Anthony. What about you, Sarah?
Okay. For me, my first semester at Cal Poly Pomona was also really challenging. I didn't know it at the time until late into the semester, but I was experiencing like panic attacks. I would be walking through, I forgot the name of it, but it's this quad in front of it's in front of the College of Science, and there's other like colleges around this quad. And I would walk through it and there would be what seemed like hundreds of students just walking by, and it was something I never experienced before. Like at Mount SAC, there weren't that many students like at Cal Poly. And I remember just feeling like I couldn't breathe. My heart was racing. And I thought that these panic attacks were from stress I was experiencing from home. But then there was this one moment when I walked into my organic chemistry class, and it was in a classroom at the College of Business. And I think it seats about 200 students. And I remember walking in there and feeling like I couldn't breathe. It was very overwhelming. So because I was part of EOP, I learned through one of the advising sessions that I was experiencing transfer shock. And so I was referred to CAPS at Cal Poly Pomona and we started receiving counseling services. And that really helped me deal with a lot of the emotions I was feeling my first semester at Cal Poly Pomona, because it was very overwhelming being in a new environment after being at the community college for like 3 years. It was just completely different. Even the student life was different because people lived on campus and at the community college, it was just a different environment. So that was my first semester at Cal Poly.
Thank you for sharing. I thought it was interesting how I didn't even know that existed, and thank you for educating us on that. Thank you, Sarah. So now going on to the next one, next question. Did you experience any anxieties upon entering the college environment? And Jane, please.
So to put it plainly, yes, I experienced a lot of anxieties upon entering college. Sorry, I had a distraction. I had a lot of anxieties because at that point I was still trying to figure myself out, as I'm pretty sure a lot of first years are, because I was having a lot of doubts about whether I chose the right major, was I taking the right classes, where even are these classes on campus? Because even though I said I felt at home at Cal Poly Pomona, I still was trying to navigate my way through all of these buildings, through this giant quad and everything. And it was just a little bit of a culture shock to me, because I came from a high school of just 2,000 to 3,000 students to now a campus of tens of thousands of students. And like Anthony said before, it's like you're a small fish in a big pond. So I was also trying to navigate that. And then I was trying to create my own schedule with the sections that they specifically give. And sometimes there's only limited sections at specific times. So I was trying to create schedules that specifically fit me, and trying to have classes that didn't overlap along with my other responsibilities at home. So a lot of it just piled up, a lot of anxieties college. So those are some of my anxieties entering college.
Thank you, Jane. All right, what about you, Anthony?
Yeah, similar to Jane, I would say I remember feeling a lot of uncertainty and anxiety and just not knowing really what to expect. I'd say personally, I'm kind of a pessimist, so I always just think about the worst case scenarios, and I feel like I kind of brought that mindset with me into college. So I assumed that a lot of my classes were going to be really hard, and that I had to be on my A game, as soon as classes started. But it turns out a lot of my classes weren't as difficult as I thought they were to be, and many of my professors were actually really personable and friendly and approachable. And I would say my main anxiety though is whether or not I chose the right major. Um, I always just remember thinking about what if I didn't like what I was studying, or if it was too difficult for me. And eventually I feel like those anxieties went away as I took more classes related to my major. And I found out that I just really liked what I was learning and enjoyed many of the classes and the things that I did in there. And I feel like from that, I was able to know that the major that I picked was right for me.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, so now, to what extent did you feel that you belonged at CPP? And when did you feel like you belonged? And were there any factors that increased your sense of belonging? And we'll start off with Sarah.
Okay, so I didn't feel like I belonged at CPP until, I think it was my second year. And that was because, like I said before, my first semester and first year at Cal Poly Pomona, it was just overwhelming getting adjusted to all the new changes of being at a university, and meeting new people, and trying to establish relationships with classmates, faculty, staff. But it wasn't, I would say, the first time I felt like I connected and I felt like I belonged was when I walked into the RAMP office. And that was because everyone at RAMP, it seems like they love to read and they love musicals. And they offer, back before the virtual setting, we would go to like musicals, and they also offer the book club. So I felt like I found my people. And so finding a group of people that shared the same interests as me, and other students too, just helped me feel like I belonged at Cal Poly Pomona. And also during this pandemic, I started feeling a disconnect. And as a parenting student, because it feels like an isolating experience being a parenting student, especially during these virtual times. And so I found a way to connect to the parenting student community. There's a lot of resources on campus for parenting students. And when we created a GroupMe chat, we created a club, and just having a connection to students like me, a community of parenting students, I can say now with confidence that I feel like I belong, that I belong at Cal Poly Pomona. And so it's just having a connection to a community that has, your similar interests and experiences.
Thank you, Sarah. It's nice to hear that RAMP was instrumental in that. It's nice to hear that. All right, Esmeralda.
So coming into Cal Poly, I was coming in and I was kind of like, I would say like, this girl's on fire. Like I was going in and I wanted to make friends. I wanted to join all these clubs. I was living on campus. To me, I had everything at my fingertips, even though, like they said, you do feel like a fish, like a fish in a pond. But I didn't really ever feel like I didn't belong there, because I made sure to go outside of my comfort zone. And at that time, I feel like I was a very social person. I'm like borderline introvert extrovert, but I remember even meeting Dustin. I remember when I met him as my advisor in RAMP. He's like, wow, you really socialize, because I was telling him like, I want to get an internship this time. I want to do this and that. And that was like my personality my freshman year. I was just, I was on it. But it wasn't that I felt that I belonged. It was that I felt like I had to belong there, because it was my dream school. So I made myself belong there. The only thing that I think till this day sometimes makes me feel like calm down, like settle down, is not the social aspect, but the academic aspect, because I was not a person to ever struggle with academics. And with a major like engineering, it kind of tells you like, hey, put in extra work. If you're going to put in a few hours for studying, you're not going to cut it. And I didn't learn that my freshman year. My freshman year, I think I even failed math class. And to me, that was like, wow, like I thought I knew math. So the only community within Cal Poly that I feel like sometimes it's still, I need to make myself belong there more, is my engineering community there. But at the same time, like I'm Latina, I'm a female, I'm coming from this town in the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of like imposter syndrome sometimes, just being in that setting. But all of the other social aspects of Cal Poly, or even just on the side, like the academics, the clubs that we have, RAMP, of course, it's like my second home there. And I've never really felt out of place there, aside from just the engineering community sometimes.
Thank you, Esme. I think it's very interesting how each one of you had different, but it was still very relatable to my life even. All right, so now moving on to the next question. So describe your involvement on campus your first year at Cal Poly Pomona. How has your involvement changed? So we'll start off with Esme.
Yeah, so just to like piggyback off what I was saying, my freshman year, I think I joined Hermanas Unidas. I was in the CYAWA club, so an environmental water agency club. I'm still part of that club. I'm not part of Hermanas Unidas anymore. And then I also would go to club meetings for all the other meetings. I was also part of the horsemanship club, which back then it was known as the Cal Poly drill team. So I was very much involved in obviously RAMP. RAMP, I still remember walking into RAMP the day of orientation when I made a group of friends that are still my friends now during orientation. And we all walked in there. And out of everybody that walked in there, my group of 6 friends, so 7 with me, I'm the only one that joined RAMP. And I just felt connected. And I think a lot of it has to do with Rachel. As soon as I seen her on campus, I have a very strong relationship with my parents, with my mom. So to me, to see an adult on campus was like, I felt at home. So I immediately joined, like as soon as I could. I went to that meeting on that Friday, I think, when they host the first meeting for incoming students. And I was very much involved my freshman year, because I also lived on campus. So I really did take advantage of the opportunity. However, when sophomore year came and even junior year, I started becoming a little less involved, but the clubs that did pique an interest with me, I made sure I would still keep contact with them, which was the Horsemanship Club and the California Water Agency Club. So I'm still part of those two clubs. And I feel like just making sure that I was able to sort out the clubs that were beneficial and that interested me more has really made an impact now that I'm almost graduating, because I've been able to benefit from these clubs as a member. So I would say freshman year, I came in like blazing through to see what clubs I wanted to join. And now it didn't increase, but I'm settled at where I want to be at, like in terms of clubs.
Thank you, Esma. All right, Winnie.
My first freshman year of college, I feel like I wasn't as involved, even though I was part of Renaissance Scholars. In Renaissance Scholars, we would do like group activities, but I just felt like I just didn't belong in that. Like I was a super shy person. I still am to some extent, but the program, it's a program for former foster youth as well. So they gave us like a chance to connect to other students. But since I was just in my own bubble, I just didn't want to talk to anyone, which is the biggest mistake in probably my first year. And also I was living in a dorm, so it made it easy for me to, once I'm done with class, like I just go back to my dorm and just like don't talk to anybody. And that kind of discouraged me from joining clubs and organizations as well. I just stayed in my dorm most of my time, and I would only talk to this one person in my dorm, and I met her through this program called the Renaissance Scholars. I mean, not the Renaissance Scholars, the Summer Bridge program. And my spring semester, I actually joined RAMP, but it wasn't like my intent to join RAMP. It was because I went to sign up for the wrong class and I had to drop that class. And dropping that class put me at, I think, 11 units. And I needed one more unit in order to qualify as a full-time student. And I actually heard about RAMP like during the summer through EOP program. Somebody like handed me out like a flyer about RAMP and the programs. And I remember specifically that they offered 1 unit course. So I decided to be brave that day, and I went to the library, which I have never done before. I've never went to the library. So I went to the library, and I don't know if I signed up for orientation, but I think like the first person that I talked to in RAMP was Dustin. He was like telling me about all the stuff that RAMP could provide and stuff, and he seemed very friendly. So I decided to join, and I asked him about the 1 unit course, and I emailed Laura for the code to join the class. And I actually am really glad that I made the mistake, and because it allowed me to join the tutoring sessions with Caitlin. And that's when I had like somebody to talk to. So every time I would finish my, I think, government class, I would go to RAMP for tutoring, and I would talk to Caitlin about everything. And it kind of made me feel like I belonged. And I would tell her about everything, and we would go on to play games together after our sessions. So it just felt nice to be able to have friends. And that definitely impacted my grade. I feel like it motivated me to do better in classes, because my first semester, I didn't really know how to handle my classes. I didn't know like what's the right study habits, like how am I supposed to manage my time. But joining RAMP, learning about like the different skills I needed to have in order to succeed in my class really helped. And that's also when I declared into my major, and that's pretty much it. But I think RAMP definitely made like a huge impact in my college career.
Thank you for sharing, Winnie. I can totally agree with both of you. Dustin was the first one I met as well. So I thought that was interesting. And yes, RAMP has made me feel welcomed as well. So now moving on to the next question. So what did you consider your strength to be when you entered college? And what do you consider to be your strength now? And how can you turn this week or your weaknesses into your strengths? And we'll start off with Winnie.
Sorry, I had like a notification. I got distracted for a little bit. So what did I consider my strength to be when I entered college? I felt like I was a very independent person. Like I think that actually turned out to be my weakness, because it kind of made me like stay in my own bubble. Like I didn't want to ask for help whenever I needed help. I remember everybody would be telling me that I needed to talk to my professors in order to build that connections. But my freshman year, I was just so focused on just doing everything myself. I didn't want to ask for help. And I realized that when I applied to be a tutor for RAMP, I realized I didn't really have any like connections to my professors, because I was struggling to find professors to ask for recommendation. And the professors that I asked, they wouldn't really like give out like good recommendation. They had nothing to say about me, because then, I mean, they don't really know me on a personal level. So I think after I declared into my major in urban design, I started urban planning. I started getting more involved with my professors. I would ask for help every time that I needed it, especially in projects where I don't know how to do. And I'm actually really glad that I did that, because one of the professors that I connected during my sophomore year actually ended up recommending me for a research job with another professor. So I feel like, yeah, now I feel like my strength is just I'm more open, I'm more social. I can ask for help whenever I needed it. And I think how can I turn how can one turn their weaknesses into a strength? I feel like just get out of your comfort zone. I feel like because asking for help was like out of my comfort zone. Throughout my life, like I did not like being helped, because I also grew up as the oldest kid in my family. So everything in life, like I had to figure out by myself. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Winnie. I can relate with that, being the oldest. Yeah. All right. Now on to Jane.
Okay, so I'm gonna answer this question a little bit of a roundabout way. So my strength back then and my strength now are one and the same, but I recognize now that they differ to their certain extent. So back then, I thought my strength was organization and time management skills. I thought I was really prepared. I thought I was really organized. I had this planner. I planned every single little thing in. And I didn't venture out into other methods of organization because I stuck to what I knew and what I knew from high school. And that while that did work for the first 2 years, I realized when I self-reflected that I was still having a lot of anxieties. I was looking too far ahead deadline wise. I was procrastinating a lot, and I just realized then that something had to give because I wasn't making a lot of the deadlines sometimes. I thought if I just wrote down every single little thing, it'd be fine. So yeah, that's when I realized something had to give because I self-reflected and I realized what worked and what didn't work. So sorry, something in my throat. So beginning my third year, kind of I started venturing out into other methods of organization. I started learning that I could, and through RAMP, I was able to learn that you need to break down your time blocks. I learned to make bigger deadlines into smaller deadlines. I learned to make my own deadlines because I knew I was going to procrastinate. I am a major procrastinator. So I made my own deadlines so that I would make those deadlines. And so in a weird roundabout way, my strength back then was also my weakness, because now I still consider my strength to be my organization and time management skills. I just realized and I believe that I really improved the way that I go about it. So I don't know what's going on with my voice. So how can one turn in their weaknesses into strengths? I really believe that you have to identify what your weakness is first. You have to self-reflect, and then you have to seek to actively improve upon it. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jane and Winnie, for sharing. All right, now on to our last question. So reflecting on your college experiences so far, how have your parents or guardians' perspectives changed from when you first started Cal Poly Pomona, and how so? So we'll start off with Sarah.
So my parents were not supportive at the beginning. When I decided to, actually when I first dropped out of college, they were disappointed in me, especially being the oldest and only girl in the family. They thought like, oh, she's gonna do well, she's smart. And then when they saw that I was getting these bad grades, they were like, what happened to our daughter? So anyways, when I decided to return to college around my mid-20s, at the time I had a little boy. He was 3, and I was married. And my parents were upset when I told them that I wanted to go back to school. They said that as a married woman and having a child, I should focus on my family and just find a job that pays, enough to support my family and just stick to that. And I said no. I really was passionate and driven, and I wanted to, get my college degree in nutrition. So when I started Cal Poly Pomona, and the classwork, the load of classwork increased, and it was a lot harder. I was going through a lot of challenges. I would communicate to my parents at first, like, hey, it's really hard. I can't go to like family parties. I can't go to weddings. And they would just tell me, oh, you don't care about our family. See, this is why you should have gone to college before having a child. And so these types of comments from my parents really hurt me. And at the time, I grew very angry with my parents. And it was actually through the help of my counselor at CAPS, and also just some experiences I had at Cal Poly Pomona, I realized that my parents were just worried about me and scared for me, and that's how they communicated to me. And anyway, so now finally, after being in school for, I think it's been 6 years, I actually got the first text message from my mom in January of last month. And she just sent me this random text message saying she was really proud of me for still being, in school and pursuing my dreams and goals. And that she really believes in me and is happy for me and just wants the best for me. And that text message just meant everything after the relationship I've had with my parents. So I would say that the support of my parents has changed, from 6 years ago to now. And I really think it just, it changed because of how they've seen me throughout my journey at Cal Poly and at Mount SAC. And so I would say that to like other first generation students, like maybe your parents at the beginning, they might not be supportive, but maybe after a while they'll see how driven and passionate you are, and their opinion or support might change.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing that. I'm glad that now it changed for the better for your family. All right, what about you, Anthony?
Yeah, my story is not as personable as Sarah's, but I would say my parents' perspectives have not changed compared to when I first went to college. I would say they really encouraged me to go to college. Well, encourage would probably be an understatement. I'd probably say they were going to make me. But yeah, I would say they're still really proud of me for being in college, especially just being first generation and all. And I remember my first year, they would check on me every day and just ask how my classes were going. And over time it gets annoying, but I guess that's just what parents do, and they just always want to make sure that you're doing all right. But I would say nowadays they're a lot more hands off now. They just know I'm more responsible and I'm capable of taking care of myself, and they're just really proud of me at the end of the day. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Anthony. All right, so thank you all for sharing your stories and for being vulnerable, because I know some stories were more personal than others, but thank you for sharing that to all of us and all RAMP students, so that they can see that if you guys can do it, so can they, So to end this off, I would like to, for you, all of you guys, for the panelists, to end with a one-liner takeaway message for our students, some advice or something that you would want to give them. So we'll start off with Anthony.
Yeah, I'd say one final thing I want to say is just definitely don't neglect your physical and mental well-being. Does it have to be one line? Like it. Okay, well,
If you want, yeah, so that everyone can have time to share what they want to say.
sure. Yeah, just remember to not forget about taking care of yourself and making sure that you're right mentally and physically. It's just as important as your grades and your academics.
Thank you, Anthony. What about you, Esme?
I think something I would like to leave you guys with is that we all have a story, and I feel like our experiences, we learn from what we go through, and sometimes we learn experiences that we didn't think we were going to learn at the age we are now. But you just kind of have to roll with the punches as it goes and just don't give up. Mentally, like Anthony said, you need to make sure you take care of yourself, and just know that if you have a goal in mind, one way or another, you can make a way to get there.
Yeah, so true. Thank you, Esme. What about you, Jane?
I guess a one-liner or just something that I want to leave you guys with is something that sounds cliche, something you guys have already heard, but this is something I really needed to hear maybe when I was a first year or second year. It is okay. It is perfectly okay to make mistakes. Do not beat yourself up over the littlest things.
Yeah. Thank you, Jane. What about you, Sarah?
A message I would like to communicate to other first generation students is that kind of like what Jane was saying about the mistakes, is that there will be times on your journey that you will fail or make mistakes, but just changing your perspective on those experiences, because I think there's a quote by Oprah that says that you're not really failing. It's just there's like a kind of like a fork in the road. So it's a sign for you to maybe make a change or take another direction. And so, yeah, I would say, yeah, just having like a change in perspective when it comes to mistakes. And they're actually there to help you, especially because I would say every mistake or failure that I've had the past few years have actually led me to something even better and greater. And so, yeah, to not get caught up on those mistakes.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, Winnie?
I think something that I want to convey is probably just don't focus too much on the negative things. Always focus on what you get out of those experiences, because I feel like a lot of the things that I originally thought was a negative experience in my life turned out to be something, turned out that I learned something from those experiences. Sarah and Jane stated, don't beat yourself too much over mistakes. I feel like I did that a lot before, but over time I kind of learned to tone it down a little and always try to learn from my mistakes and try to improve it. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Winnie, and thank you all for coming here today. And I want to thank first the panelists for taking your time and sharing your stories with us. And thank you to everyone here for coming to Spring 2021's first Gen Undergrad panel. And now this is the end of our panel of the session. So now we're going to open up to any questions any of you might have, or any questions you might want to ask any panelists directly. Feel free to ask questions. They don't bite. We're all friendly here. So if you guys want to ask away. It's okay. This is a free zone to ask. Do any of you have any questions? Or are you all good? Can you guys put thumbs up if you guys are good, or if you have questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
For the panelists who said they had failed the class for the first time, like a while ago, what helped you deal with it or move on from it? I know that, like, for me personally, failing a class would be like something really hard to accept.
I think I was the one that answered that. Yes. And I want to say it wasn't the only class I ever failed, but I really beat myself up about it the first time. And now I look back at it and I'm like, why did I beat myself up? But I think when we come across like the feeling of failure, I feel like at that moment, it's just something you really don't want to accept. And I didn't accept it. That's why I believe I spoke to Dustin about it, and he's the one that recommended me actually getting tutored. And I said that to me, I was like, I'm already getting tutored for reading. Do I really need to get tutored for math? I thought I was good at math. So I would say, like, just do something to change how you feel about it at that moment. At that moment, I was very pessimistic about what happened. But I also try to look at it in an optimistic way. I took advice and I said, you know what, I'm not going to accept this. Like, if I failed it once, I can't fail it again. And I just gave it my all the next time it came around, because I knew I couldn't go back anymore. It was just going forward from there on.
All right, thank you. Any more questions?
I have a question. So as a first generation student, I experienced a lot of stress and anxiety, no more so not like academically, but like trying to be the perfect student, daughter, and sister to my two younger siblings. What advice would you give me in how to like handle this and not always trying to be perfect, and like knowing my priorities isn't always trying to be like this perfect role model, and
Is it Areli? Areli?
Yeah, Areli.
Areli, so I actually struggled with that for most of my life. And I would say the pandemic is what forced me to change my, what's it called? My strive for perfection, because I cannot be perfect right now. Well, never. But some resources that helped me to get to this point of trying not to be perfect is, first, I found these positive affirmation cards that I found on Amazon, and like, I'll show you. I pull one every day, and this is one. Like, it says, "I am flexible and flowing," and then it has like a little quote at the back. So saying positive affirmations, giving myself more grace. And also two other resources that I used were CAPS. Like I had mentioned earlier, CAPS really helped me. There's a lot of workshops they offer, besides the counseling services. They have a YouTube channel also, and they have videos that help with topics like these. So I would recommend the YouTube channel, contacting CAPS, and then just finding, just giving yourself breaks. You know, you're a human being. You have a right to resting, taking naps, you know. Yeah, so I would say just remember you're a human. You're not a robot. You're allowed to feel whatever you feel, and you're not perfect, and that's perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I don't have a question. I want to say something to all the speakers today. It was really nice to hear everybody's experience. Like it really helps, you know, to see other people's perspective. And to Sarah, I want to say that I'm so happy for you because I also have a sister. She recently went back to school, and it's really great to see that other people are also doing the same and that she's not alone.
Thank you, Daniela, for sharing that. And yes, that is a message that is really important for first generation students, is that you are not alone. And there's been times in my, especially recently, that I have felt alone. And it's having a support system to remind you that no, you're not alone. And people are there to support and love you and care for you. That's a really good message. You're not alone. And good luck with, for your sister. Is she at Cal Poly or is she at a community college?
She's doing community college right now.
Okay, I wish her the best of luck and
Thank you.
on everything.
Thank you all for sharing. So this is the end of our event for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you related to some of the panelists or all of the panelists. And thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your day to be here. It really means a lot. And you will be sent a email through MyBar to go ahead and complete the reflection form about this event. And yeah, so that's it for today. And I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thank you all. Good luck on any midterms, and we'll see you and talk to you all soon, hopefully. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.